When you talk about those good 4-year-olds coming back this year, the 1, 2, 3 from last year, Sierra Leone, Fierceness, and Forever Young, they're obviously at the 4, but can you be at your absolute best at the end of a season, not once, but twice?
This is VSiN At The Track. Now here's your hosts, Mike Somich and Aaron Halterman.
Welcome back in here, VSiN At The Track. I am Mike Somich. He is Aaron Halterman. As always, we are presented by First Bet Racing, our presenting sponsor, and VSiN's official racing sponsor as well. And Aaron, we have made it. We have made it to the Saturday show. It's been a busy week. If you have not digested all of the content, make sure you head over to @VSiN Live. You can find the videos there with Friday's picks, with our long shot video. We've got interviews with David Aragona, the morning line maker of the Breeders' Cup, as well as Chris Felica talking about his best bets from both the Friday and Saturday card. Aaron, I know for you, just like me, it's a grind this week. We're all over the place, but I couldn't be happier to be back here with you and talk about some of the key races on Saturday.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. We've been everywhere, but that's good. But we're best when we're together, Mike. Don't forget that, right? So we're back. Yeah, it's been fun. A lot of videos, like you said. Been reading the comments this morning on some of those videos. Thanks for the kind words to those of you that commented. And yeah, it's just been a lot of fun. These are the weeks we kind of live for, right? In horse racing, we don't get the main stage all that often, but when we do, we got to pump out the content. We got to be ready to rock and roll. And we got another good show today. So yeah, I mean, I can see the light at the end of the tunnel. We're actually to the Breeders' Cup almost, and that's exciting.
Literally 24 hours away from first post on Friday's Breeders' Cup card. Now, Breeders' Cup races don't start till race 6, but you know what? I like betting the undercard. I know you like betting the undercard. Del Mar's running today. We get to see how the track is playing, so a lot of different things that are going on today as well. And I want to echo your sentiment there. Thank you for all the kind comments. I'll also say thank you for all the snide comments as well. I kind of like it when people are like, nah, you're wrong, man. I like this horse. I like this horse, because it makes me go back and look at horses. Yeah. It's the beauty of horse racing that everyone has an opinion, and I'm not going to just say everyone's opinion's wrong that isn't mine, because I have been wrong before. You're wrong a lot in horse racing, so I like hearing about horses that we're not mentioning or forgetting, because it makes me go back and look at them and then, reassess. Hey, did I miss something here? So appreciate all of the comments, good or bad, down there on the YouTube videos. Make sure you're hitting the thumbs up there. Make sure you're subscribed over on the Apple or Spotify feeds as well, so you get all of the different editions of VSiN At The Track that continue to populate your feed this week. Aaron, we've got a loaded show once again here. Jeremy Plonk going to join us, the editor over at First Bet, going to get some of his takes on the bigger races on Saturday. We're going to cover 5 of the bigger races on Saturday as well. Talk a little bit about Sovereignty. We've touched on him the last couple days, but I want to take your temperature on where we're at with him. And then we are in the blank horse looks like a beast mode right now on all of the workouts. So we'll talk about a couple that we have gotten texts about, that we have heard about, that look very good on the racetrack. So a lot to get into here in this episode. And we'll just start out with Sovereignty. We've talked about him a couple times before in previous shows. Have you changed your sentiment at all? I know we're both bummed he's not running, but have you changed your sentiment at all on Sovereignty being out of this race?
Well, I mean, it's still very disappointing, right? I was talking with John White, who used to make the morning line for the Breeders' Cup, now retired, made the morning line for Santa Anita for years as well. And we just kind of thought, you know what, this is still a great race, the Breeders' Cup Classic. Like, that's how deep the field is. You lost the 6-5 morning line favorite, and it's like, wow, this is a really good race. This is better than a lot of runnings. I just think it went from an all-timer, maybe one of the best ever, to just a great race, right? But that's still good, but that is the disappointment of it. But you know what? The handicapping puzzle of the Breeders' Cup Classic, at least for me, is all over the place now, when I was really kind of, centered on one horse. So, yeah, it's still disappointing, but you know what? It's still the Breeders' Cup. We still got a lot of good horses. They're going to be running, so just move on, right? It is what it is.
It's funny you mentioned like the level of the race. So I was on VSiN this morning on a numbers game with Gil Alexander and Kelly Bidlin, and they were like, well, tell us about the race. Like, how good is it actually? And I'm like, well, let me kind of go through the PPs and look at this. We have the top 3 finishers from last year, right? We have the second and third place runners in the Derby in Baeza and Journalism. We're clearly the second and third best 3-year-olds. If we had Sovereignty, it'd be even better. But you look at the other horses that are entered in this. I mean, Baeza, we talked about, but he won a Grade 1 last time out. Nevada Beach coming out of a Grade 1 win. Forever Young won a stakes race last time out, was third in the Dubai World Cup prior to that. He is very tenured. Can't knock him. Sierra Leone ran second in the Jockey Club Gold Cup to another horse that's in this race and won the Whitney prior to that. Mindframe fell in the Jockey Club Gold Cup, but won the Stephen F. Foster prior to that at Grade 1. Journalism's coming off a second place in the Pacific Classic to Fierceness, who's in here, and won a Grade 1 prior to that. And Antiquarian won a Grade 1 last time out. I mean, this is a absolutely loaded field. And yeah, I'd like to see Nisos in here. I'm not sure. We'll talk about Nisos today in the Dirt Mile, but there's not really anyone missing. And everyone is coming in off phenomenal efforts. This is I think, one of the better runnings and one of the more wide open runnings as well of the Breeders' Cup Classic.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think the first thing you got to look at is the top 3 finishers of last year are right back here this year. That never happens hardly, especially in this day of age of racing where it's like, let's get him retired as quick as possible. That didn't happen. And oh, by the way, you talk about Mindframe, who hasn't finished a race with the jockey since June. That's no fault of his own. You know, we talk about Sierra Leone and how he won the Breeders' Cup Classic. Mindframe has finished ahead of Sierra Leone both times they faced, right? So, that's another thing to go look. Yeah, Mindframe wasn't in the Classic last year because he got injured, but he's been very competitive, if not better, than a lot of the horses that were. So he's intriguing as well. And listen, as much as we love Sovereignty, Journalism and Baeza, I'm not going to say they've been close to beating Sovereignty, but they've at least been around. You know what I mean? So you still have nice 3-year-olds in this race as well. So, yeah, I mean, look, I think if you would have told me after the Travers, day after the Travers, hey, Sovereignty's shutting down for the year, he's not running, you'd still be like, well, hell, we got a great Classic. It's just the fact that we thought we had him and now we don't. That's where the letdown comes in. But again, it happened early, like we said, thankfully. We're over it. Let's move on. I'm ready for the Breeders' Cup regardless if Sovereignty's scratched or not.
Well, I'm going to reiterate what I said. I'm happy he scratched after the news on Tuesday and Monday around the fever, because it would have been just a betting just mind. I'm thinking of bad words to say here, so right. I'm not going to say them, but it really would have thrown me off from a betting perspective, because, like, what do you do with Sovereignty then, who I think we both would have had on top, but then he is sick heading into the race, and are you sure he's going to run that manner? I would have probably played against him instead of putting him on top because of this issue earlier in the week, and that, to me, it's a cleaner now that Sovereignty is not in, because this is not in the back of my mind of, hey, how do I play this horse who had a fever on Monday or Tuesday?
Yeah, it would have been a little bit of a mess. If at the very least it would have influenced the amounts maybe that I'm playing, or how hard I'm going to rely on him in certain situations. And it does kind of set you up to look foolish one way or another, right? And you're just guessing at that point. And look, I know handicapping a lot of times you're out there kind of making educated guess that we want to say, but with hey, he might be sick, he might not, he's going to run type of, that is a total just coin flip on what he's going to do. So, yeah, I mean, I'm with you. It classy move by Bill Mott to get this out, get the news out early, and then do the right thing by the horse. And yeah, so yeah, I'm with you. And again, I think it'll make our Breeders' Cup Classic discussion, whether it be with Jeremy coming up here very soon or when we get to it on our as we go through the race, I think it makes it a much more fascinating conversation.
Well, it changes the discussion to, like, okay, you're going to try and beat Sovereignty or not, to which of these 7 horses do you want to put on top, right? And
yeah.
that's fun. That, to me, is more fun. It's a better betting race. There's more directions you can go. It got me on a long shot, which I was not going to pick on top, which now I am picking on top. You know who it is. If you've watched the shows, you know who it is. If you haven't, stick around. We're going to talk about the Breeders' Cup Classic here, as well as the final race on today's show is my favorite bet on the entire 2-day Breeders' Cup card. So that's going to be the last race of the Breeders' Cup this year, the 12th race, the filly and Mare Turf. We'll talk about that one a little bit later as well. The other news here is really who looks awesome on the racetrack. And I think before I go into this, caveat, you don't hear many horses don't look awesome on the racetrack on Breeders' Cup week, but I know I've gotten a couple texts about these. We've heard, the rumblings about them, so I think we should at least highlight them. First off, we'll start out with Forever Young, who is just apparently absolutely loaded, breathing fire, can't wait to run. I've heard from multiple people that he is going to run huge. I have no clue what to do with him. We'll talk about him more in the Breeders' Cup Classic. What's your take on Forever Young looking like a monster this year?
Yeah, the steam is really getting there. No, we had David Aragona on. He picked him. I interviewed John White yesterday for Racing Dudes. He picked Forever Young. It feels like he's the wise guy horse. And yeah, the workouts, it's not really workouts, just gallops over the track. People are raving about him. I will say this. The last horse they were raving about spiked the temperature and scratched out of the race. So be careful believing all the hype, right? But look, he's a world-class horse. And it's like you said, if it would be a bigger story if they go, oh, he just looks okay. That's bad because he is a world-class horse. He won the Saudi Cup, the richest race in the world. He just won that race. He almost won the Kentucky Derby. He ran third at the Breeders' Cup Classic last year. He's a world-traveled horse. He should look great. He does look great. So that is good news. But, the hype on Forever Young is growing. I'm not so sure this horse isn't going to be the second choice by the time we get here. There's so much hype on Forever Young.
Yeah, we'll talk about the betting board when we get into the Classic, but I think it's going to be fascinating who takes money in that race because I don't know if the public is sick of fierceness. I don't know if Forever Young and the Japanese thing, which was like all the rave last year, is going to continue to be the rave this year, or we're going to see horses like Sierra Leone, your defending champion, take some money. Aidan's Army back on the track. If you haven't seen this, if you're new to horse racing, you can head over to Twitter, search Aidan's Army, and you'll see videos of all of the Aidan O'Brien and his son's horses out on the track together. This is the third time we've seen Aidan's Army out there. And notably, Lion in Winter got washy, didn't look good the first time they were on the track. This time, I got texts about him about how good he looked. So apparently, he is acclimating very well to Del Mar here. That horse is entered in the Breeders' Cup Mile, another race we're going to take. I should say Turf Mile, but the Breeders' Cup Mile is on the turf. The Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile is the dirt mile. Just for everybody out there, if you're hearing the vernaculars, that's how we talk about it. So the Breeders' Cup Mile, which is on turf, Lion in Winter, one of the horses that I'm hearing very, very good things about. Did you get any Aidan's Army reports this morning?
Yeah, I actually got a text from about 5 people of an interview Aidan did where he said Precise, the 2-year-old filly going to run on Friday, maybe one of the best 2-year-old fillies he's ever trained. And I thought, okay.
He's trained some good ones.
He's trained some good ones. Now, are you kind of, is that true? Like, I don't know. But that was a pretty good sign as well for me. And by the way, Lake Victoria, who came in and dominated that race last year, he didn't say that kind of thing about her. And she was still able to dominate. So I thought that was very interesting. The Lion and Winter thing is funny. We had Mark from WFAN on the Friday show, and he loves Lion and Winter. So that's kind of I chuckled when I saw, they're really raving about that horse. But again, look, Aidan O'Brien, and we talked about it. He has brought his best over here for a lot of these races. Maybe not all of them, but for a lot of them. So they better look good. And here's the other thing. The way they train the horses, they come out. You call it Aidan Army. If you've never seen it, they just come out in a big line, and it is so different from what we see in the United States and so impressive. It really is like a marching band, but they're world-class horses coming out there, so it's really something to see. They always catch the eye. I'm not surprised what we're hearing. But look, as a guy that's going to play Lion and Winter in the pick 4s and pick 5s and maybe daily doubles, I feel great about the news.
Yeah, it's definitely a positive. You never want to hear, so a horse is washy. It means they're sweating more than they probably should. It wasn't a hot morning when he was washy. Now you're coming back, seeing him looking much better. So that's obviously a positive if you're a Lion in Winter backer. The other one is one that I'm surprised about. I got 6 texts this morning about Jonquil, who is also in the Turf Mile. I was not expecting 6 texts about Jonquil, who's in the Turf Mile. We'll talk about him a little bit more. Did you get the same thing? All of them positive, by the way. All of them like, wow, this horse looks loaded. He looks like a monster. Second time North America, going to be a huge step forward. Blibbity, blobbity, blue. All good things. Did you hear anything about Jonquil this morning?
Yeah, I don't think I have 6 friends, so I didn't get 6, but I got one. And I think, and you never text me, so you don't even count, right? So
I talk to you too much to text you.
All right. Okay. That's fine. Listen, I'm shocked by it as well. As for a guy on this side of it now, I don't have this horse anywhere currently. So maybe you do a little bit of adjusting, kind of depending on, scratches and things like that. That'll come out the day of the race. I don't know. I guess reconsider a little bit. Like you said, kind of like the comment section of our YouTube. When you see those comments, you go, well, I'll go back and take a look. I didn't think the horse looked good enough to win. So it'll be interesting. That's not one that I had on my radar of, I bet he impresses in the morning. But like I said, good on him. And you want him to impress. You definitely don't want him to disappoint or, they don't look all that great. So, have to go back and maybe reconsider.
Yeah, we'll talk about Jonquil in the Turf Mile here, race number 10 from Saturday a little bit later in the show as we preview the final 5 races from Saturday's Breeders' Cup card. But before we do that, we've got Jeremy Plonk who's going to join us. And if you're looking for winners in the Breeders' Cup, make sure you check out VSiN.com/breeders. It's the Breeders' Cup weekend, and we've got 14 championship races, and you don't want to go into it guessing. We've got full expert pick sheet for just $9.99 every race, both days, straight from 3 top handicappers, myself, Dave Tully, and Mr. Ed. If you're a VSiN subscriber, this is important. you get the picks for free. So if you're a VSiN subscriber, you can just go in there and get the free picks. We're laying out selections and confidence scores. If you're looking to become a VSiN subscriber, head over to vsin.com/subscribe. You can join for just $9.99 for your first month. So instead of getting the picks page, just become a subscriber. $9.99. You get everything we do over at VSiN. Head over to vsin.com/breeders or vsin.com/subscribe to get access to all of those picks. Now joining us here, Jeremy Plonk. We had him on for the Derby. Really appreciated his time. He's the editor-in-chief over at First Bet. Jeremy, thanks for making time for us. I'm sure this is a very busy week for you as well. How is your Breeders' Cup week going?
Well, it's crazy, right? I mean, you get the big horse scratching and everything that you prepared for and we're putting together in terms of projects and workload and things all shift, right? So once we kind of get through the resettling of that, we kind of get back into the, okay, let's get them to the gate mode now. And for me, as somebody who's been doing it as long as I have, 30 years now in the industry, these build-up weeks are just like, crescendo about Wednesday. Thursday, it starts calming down. And then Friday, you settle in and get to actually enjoy it. And really looking forward to this Breeders' Cup.
Yeah, it's funny because I talk about Kentucky Derby week all the time, where I am just tired of talking about that race by like Wednesday. At least in the Breeders' Cup, we got 14 of them. We can go all over the place, talk about different races, different horses. So that's always a positive. We got to start out with Sovereignty. You mentioned it, the big horse scratches. We see the morning lines adjust from David Aragona. Go check out the yesterday's article or yesterday's show. We had David Aragona on the show talking about those adjustments that he made. With Sovereignty out, it really opens the race up. To me, it becomes a much better betting race, and I'm happy I don't have to deal with the flu game or not flu game to expect from Sovereignty there. What did the scratch do to your handicapping process here in the Breeders' Cup Classic?
Well, look, I've respected these 3-year-olds all season, so that doesn't take away from journalism or Baeza. The fact that Sovereignty's not there enhances them, right? I mean, that was the biggest hurdle they had to climb before even talking about the older horses. So I think it gives the 3-year-olds a better shot to play in here because I do have respect for that group. And, when you look at the history of the Breeders' Cup, this is the 42nd Breeders' Cup. Horses don't come back in the Classic. I mean, Tisnow the only 2-time winner, but then I went back and looked. We got the top 3 finishers from last year back, all as 4-year-olds. That's unprecedented. But there have only been 3 horses in the history of the Breeders' Cup Classic who ran top 3 one year and came back and won it the next. You're talking Ali Sheba, you're talking Tisnow, and those are all-time greats. And then Mucho Macho Man pulled it off, hitting the board one year, winning it the next. He kind of gives hope to this year's group of 4-year-olds saying, hey, I'm as good as Mucho Macho Man. I can kind of match his resume. So when you talk about those good 4-year-olds coming back this year, the 1, 2, 3 from last year, Sierra Leone, Fierceness, and Forever Young, they're obviously at the 4. But can you be at your absolute best at the end of a season, not once, but twice? I think it's very interesting that a lot of horses have not been able to do it over the years.
Well, you had to bring up Mucho Macho Man. I had a ticket on Will Take Charge that day when he won. I absolutely fell to my knees when I saw that photo. So we're off to a good start here, Jeremy. I'm just kidding.
It's funny with horse players like that, right? I mean, something could happen. What was that, like 2012? So 13 years ago, you still haven't given it up, and that's what makes you a horse player. I love it.
Absolutely. I was standing right at the wire at Santa Anita. I think it was only my 3rd or 4th Breeders' Cup I'd ever been to, and I was just such a fan of his after that Travers and Pennsylvania Derby. But anyway, it's just I can remember that like it was yesterday. I thought he got there, and I was heartbroken. But, to echo kind of what you're saying here, it is unprecedented for sure to have those horses back. So with that, our top pick, are you kind of leaning towards maybe Journalism Baeza, that direction?
Yeah, those two, and then the horse that I like of the returnees would be Forever Young. So I'm going to try to go against Fierceness. He ran a big race in the Pacific Classic, but he often doesn't pair up big races, right? So that's kind of one of the things of his best race wins it. I think we're all in agreement there that the best version of Fierceness would have given Sovereignty the best run, but the best version of Fierceness doesn't always show up. And with Sierra Leone, it was really situational last year where the pace set up beautifully for him, right? 44 and change for an opening half. I think they went 108 and change. I mean, when you're talking 1.25 miles, they were like Breeders' Cup sprint fractions set last year by the Japanese horse Derma Sotogake. Thankfully for pace horses, he's not back this year, of one of the few non-returnees. So I don't think the pace is going to be quite like it was last year where it played so well towards Sierra Leone, although he does appear to be training and galloping really well up to the race. I'm going to give Journalism Baeza and Forever Young the lead in this particular spot. And if I can get through the multi-race wagers using just those 3 and knock off fierceness and knock off Sierra Leone, I feel decent about it. Mind Frame scares me a lot, though. He's kind of the fresh face to this. I know the jock got knocked off in his last race, and he didn't have a prep since, but horses with time off kind of are doing better in today's racing game than horses coming back on any kind of shorter type rest. I think Mind Frame will be ready to run. That time frame difference, though, is something I really do want to mention of why I like journalism. People know I've kind of been a homer with him all the way since the spring, so there's, reasonable skepticism that I'm picking him here, but he has never had a break. He went to the track last year in the fall before his debut and never stopped training. He's a horse who's never had a winter break. Like Sovereignty had the winter off, came back in the spring, and got ready at Gulfstream towards, the prep races towards the Florida Derby. There was no off time at all for journalism. So while people say he looks like he's peaked, he keeps running the same figures, the same numbers, he's never had a chance to recalibrate, refresh, and come back in a new form cycle. This is his first time, and I think he's training really well for it. The only time he had a little bit of a blip in time was when he didn't make the Bob Lewis Stakes back in February because of a little fever knocked him out of that race, and he had a little bit of a gap between his next start. And if you remember, the San Felipe was the race where everybody said, holy cow. So maybe a little bit of freshening with him will make him run his absolute best race. He'll have to beat this field. It's a great lineup.
Yeah, this is one of the, again, I would have loved to see Sovereignty there, but this becomes such an interesting race. So we were talking about the credentials of all these horses. Basically a grade one, everyone has won a grade one entering in this race or two back. Yeah. It's a phenomenal field. I can't wait till Saturday. One of the other races I think is fascinating on Saturday is the Breeders' Cup Sprint. Not one we're going to cover later, so I'm glad we're going to talk about it here. And your favorite is going to be Ben Tornado, the horse that ran second last year. 10 horse at 5-2. Only one prep race this year heading into this. The second choice on the morning line is Copian, who's one of the more discussed horses, sitting at 7-2 on the board. She's going to take on the boys and passing up the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Sprint. What do you make of this version of the sprint, and who do you like here?
You've got a lot of the comebackers again in this race, right? The top three from last year's all rematched. But if you watch the Santa Anita Sprint Championship, I called it laughable the way that Imagination won that race from off the pace. He won almost in like a complete hold and hammerlock. Like if you had a workmate in a morning workout where he was supposed to go set the pace and you were supposed to just truck up alongside of them and go by and never be let out a notch, that's what the race looked like. And it was the Santa Anita Sprint Championship against last year's Breeders' Cup winner, Straight No Chaser. I did not know he had that game. He introduced something new to us, turning back in distance like that. Look, he's like $1 million colt, right? He was always supposed to be good. He got to the Triple Crown series, and he wasn't up to that level going long. But I think they kind of found something with him here. He'll need a pace. He'll get a pace. And I just can't believe the ease in which he won that last race. It's one of those, like you go back and watch a replay and you're kind of like, did that just happen like that? Because usually you're all out to win a top-notch sprint race like that. And he looked like he never really kind of got out of the main gear.
It was interesting, too, because he was coming off such a long layoff. And I got to be honest with you, Jeremy, when they entered that horse and I saw it on, I think, Wednesday or whatever, when they drew, I was like, I forgot about him. I didn't even know.
And I never considered him for a sprint. This is like a one-off, Like like you, I did not consider him a Breeders' Cup Sprint prospect.
No, and I'm like, what is he going to do here? And, people made a lot about, well, Straight No Chaser, he's going to get better off the layoff. I was like, geez, Imagination, what if he gets better? He may win this race easily. Yeah, I was with you. I thought it was just a freaky performance. And like you said, I thought you described it beautifully. They really didn't ask him to do anything. It did really look like he was in a work, and they just put some horses in front of him and said, okay, that's your target. Go get him. I mean, super impressive for sure. On that same note, let's talk about Filly and Mare Sprint. That's one you wanted to talk about. I'm glad as well, because here's the deal. Mike mentioned Copian's in the sprint. This was a horse, Copian, in the Filly and Mare Sprint I really liked. I'm kind of scrambling right now to find somebody that I like. Who do you like in this one?
Okay, so if Imagination won the Santa Anita Sprint with laughable ease, Splendora's workout for this Filly and Mare Sprint was like rolling on the ground laughing and just cackling because I thought it was a gallop, right? I watched the video and I watched all the workouts on the big screen in the living room. So get out of the office, get off the computer, get these horses in 70-inch high def and, and kind of enjoy them training. So they show her working and I thought, this isn't even a work. This is a gallop. Then they said final time, 4 furlongs and 47-2. And I was like, that cannot be right. There's no way. I thought maybe she galloped 52 seconds, 47-2. So I'm like, rewind, right? I mean, the beauty of being able to rewind back to the half-mile pole, time it out, and I'm like, okay, like on my phone, my iPhone stopwatch, I'm like 47 and change. I can't believe she worked that fast and never let out a breath. It was just like unbelievably easy for her. And if you go back and look at the race she ran in the Tranquility Lake at Del Mar, she freaks at Del Mar. So she loves the track there. She was working that well. That work was at Santa Anita. So it wasn't even just a filly who loves that particular track. She is doing awesome right now. And I think she's going to run a massive race. Bob Baffert could have a very big weekend. Imagination there. He's got this one. He's got Nisos in the Dirt Mile. He's got Explora as a favorite in the juvenile fillies. Baffert doesn't have the classic knockdown like he does many years with the major favorite, but boy, does he have the sprinters, and he's got that really good 2-year-old filly.
So that kind of leads me into a question that we've been asking people here, and we've been setting the over-under on Bob Baffert wins at 1.5. And right now, the majority of people have gone under. Based on your comments here, I'm going to reset the line for you. Baffert wins over or under 3.5 this weekend.
I've got him 4 times.
Yeah, see, that's what I thought. I thought this was going to be a big Baffert win.
Yeah, I think Explorer wins the juvenile fillies, these 2 that we just talked about in the sprint races. And I think Nisos is the horse to beat in the Dirt Mile. I mean, Nisos might be one of his shorter prices of those 4, and that's a tougher race. I mean, as far as like, there's a lot of good options in that particular spot. That might be his least likely winner just because of the other really good options in the race. But I don't know. The other races are competitive too. But 3.5 is tough. I mean, that's a really big number there. Give me 2.5, and I'll take the bet that he's going to get 3. 4 is almost running the table.
It's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting to see Baffert. Well, you got to change it up. Clearly, he was high on the Baffert horses. I can't say 1.5. He's going to smash me over on it.
And I'll say this for your audience. I am probably the least Bob Baffert fan in national media. I'm not a Bob Baffert homer. I just am not. I don't pick his horses just because they're Bob Baffert's. In fact, just because of all the swirling stuff that goes around with him, I'm almost a root against. Like, I don't want him to dominate the races, And so when I'm picking him with what I see on the track, it's really what I see on the track. It's really not a homer pick at all.
All right, let's cover one more race here before we let you go. The Distaff. So the older filly is going to go here in the Breeders' Cup Distaff race number 7 on Saturday. And a very interesting race here. I mean, because we've got horses like Nitrogen and Jinjin that are going to take on older again, much like they did last time in the Spinster. You've got another Baffert here in Seismic Beauty who's sitting on the board at 9-5. But I do think there's other directions you can go if you want to try and beat Seismic Beauty. What's your take on this one, Jeremy?
Yeah, I mean, watching her last race, Seismic Beauty, the leg action was just up and down, and that was at 1 mile and 16th. At the end of that race, to me, she looked gassed, and for an extra 16th of a mile she has to run in this race, which is 110 yards for your fans that aren't as into furlongs. She's got to go 110 yards farther than she did last time when she looked like she was kind of spent. I think this race is going to have a hot pace to it, and I think she's going to get a lot of heat up top. I think she's a Baffert that we can kind of take a stand against, who will likely be the favorite. I like Dorth Vader in here. Her race against Torpedo Anna back in August pretty much sent her into retirement. It was such a throwdown at Saratoga that Torpedo Anna bounced out of that race terribly in the Spinster and then was retired subsequently after that. For Dorth Vader, though, you say, well, why wouldn't the same thing happen to her? She didn't run since then. That race was in August, and the connections of Dorth Vader did the right thing in not running another prep in between. And if you've watched the training video, she looks absolutely awesome training up to this race. I think she's the best of the older fillies and mares on the East Coast, and the fact that she was a nose away from Torpedo Anna when they both ran A races at Saratoga. Torpedo Anna, the good version of her, would be a solid favorite in this field. She's not here. Now the favoritism just kind of goes by default to Seismic Beauty. She's done nothing wrong. I mean, she's running, out a nice string of wins on the West Coast, but I'm not sure she's beaten anything sensational out there. I think Dorth Vader is the way to go, and I think this race has a lot of pace, right? Now, if I think Seismic Beauty is going to back out of it, look for a big late-running closer at a big number. This Distaff race has had some weird results over the years, as we all know, and some big bombs. It's either either a $5 horse or a $50 horse, it seems like a lot of years. But I think Regaled, coming off the race in the Delaware Handicap, has massive, brisk late pace figures. And I like late pace figures in races where I think there's a lot of speed, right? If I think the race is going to go fast, who's going to be running on at the end? I'm always looking at the brisk late pace figures in those situations specifically. And she's got big numbers late. And Regaled is going to be, 30-1 in the morning line. I think she's one of the more interesting underneath horses. So I love Darth Vader, so I'm going to get Darth Vader, Regaled, and all in a trifecta. Darth Vader, all, and Regaled in a trifecta, where, we put her second and third underneath the logical pick in here. And, I think Darth Vader is going to be somewhere around 4-1, 9-2. She's not going to be a big number, but I think she's a healthy price, especially if you're looking at the exotics. And if you can get Seismic Beauty all the way out of the ticket, now you got a chance to hit something pretty decent.
Yeah, it balloons up quite a bit there if you're able to get Seismic Beauty out of it, who I think is going to be heavily bet and heavily pressed early in that race. Agree with you on that one there, Jeremy. He's Jeremy Plonk, editor-in-chief for First Bet. You can find him on X at First Bet, the number 1 STBET, and at Horse Player Now. Jeremy, thank you very much for the time. Good luck this weekend at the Breeders' Cup.
Okay, guys, good luck.
All right, before we jump into our previews here, if you're going to bet the Breeders' Cup, head over to Jeremy's website. First Bet is the official racing partner of VSiN, and they are thrilled to bring an exclusive offer to bet the Breeders' Cup World Championships. Use promo code VSiNBC, that's VSINBC, and you'll be entered to win an all-expenses paid trip to Vegas when you deposit $200. Plus, when you deposit and bet $100, you'll get a 1-year VSiN Pro subscription for access to exclusive content, picks, and more. Bet the Breeders' Cup with First Bet, the official racing partner of VSiN, with promo code VSiNBC. That's VSINBC. Head over to first.com/VSiN. That's number 1 ST.com/VSiN to find out more about this offer. Includes a 2-night stay at Circa as well as a cabana at Stadium Swim. Lot to go after there. If you're looking to bet the Breeders' Cup, make sure you do it over at First Bet. And with that, Aaron, let's jump right into the big races on Saturday. We're going to cover the last 5. We're going to bounce around a little bit, not going to lie, but we're going to start out here with the Turf race number 8 on this card. This is a fun version of the Turf. We've talked about it. We got Rebels Romance. We got Mini Hawk. We got a lot of horses that are coming back in this race as well. Who are you putting on top here in the Turf, and is this one you're looking to fire a big bet at?
Man, I love this race. This is my favorite race. Now that Sovereignty's out, this is my favorite race on the whole card. So here's the deal. I was on Rebels Romance, and then I heard a horse by the name of Mini Hawk was coming over for the race, and I said, okay, we got to make it, the European horse. I got to do my research. I was just blown away watching her race replays. The arc last time out where she almost wins and one of the toughest races in the world to win. She got second. You look at some of her other races, like, man, she's got a huge turn of foot. So while I was all over Mini Hawk, I was starting to kind of lean back towards Rebels Romance until we interviewed David Aragona yesterday, morning line maker for the Breeders' Cup. And he kind of said the same thing that I said. I had this journey of, okay, I'm going to go back to Rebels Romance. He said, but then I just keep watching these replays of Mini Hawk, and it's like, man, she's really good. So I am going to go number 8, Mini Hawk on top. I do like this horse quite a bit. I just think her best race is going to be a little bit too good for Rebels Romance, who is an amazing horse who I've bet a lot over here. One other thing that I heard Aidan O'Brien talking about, he believes Mini Hawk will love the firm ground of the United States. That's a lot of soft ground, a lot of soft tracks they get over in Europe. He believes Mini Hawk will really relish the ground. So on top, I do have number 8, a Mini Hawk. I just think she's going to be awfully tough to hold off if she can run her absolute best race.
Pretty awesome on a Breeders' Cup Saturday to get best on best. And this is the best Appleby versus the best Buick. This is a fascinating race. And this to me is going to be a heavily price dependent race, because if Mini Hawk gets bet, and overseas, we heard David Aragona talk about how this horse is around even money in a lot of betting parlors overseas, and you're getting 3-1, 7-2 on Rebels Romance. If that's the off odds, I got to play Rebels Romance, because I don't think there is that big of a gap. We're talking about 3.5x gap in a price between the 8 and the 1 there. I don't think there's a 3.5x more likelihood that you're going to see Mini Hawk win this race. I think this is a 2-horse race. I think this is going to be an awesome race between the two of them, but I'm going to go a little bit more price hunting with Rebels Romance, who, yes, Aidan O'Brien said, hey, Mini Hawk's going to love the track, going to love the firm ground. Well, we know Rebel Romance loves the track. He won this race last year over this turf course. He got a race in the U.S. as well to prep for this specific style last time out, winning up at Belmont at the Big A. I'm going to go, again, a little bit of price on here. Now, if we come to race day and it's 8-5 on Mini Hawk and 2-1 on Rebels Romance, I will be betting Mini Hawk because that I do think is a reasonable gap between the two horses. So this one is a heavily price-dependent race for me. If it isn't Mini Hawk, if it isn't Rebels Romance, who do you like either underneath or as a possible upset if you're playing multi-race tickets?
Well, here's the deal. The problem with the multi-race tickets, all the races around this race for me are very tough. So I had to go skinny. I singled Mini Hawk in one spot. There was another spot where I was able to use Mini Hawk, and another horse that I do like to try to get around both of them is the number 3 Amalok. I really, the more you watch it, again, the past performances are one thing with the international horses. Watch the replays. That's really when you can really find it. I'm just super impressed with Amalok. I think this is a horse. Look, do I think this is one that is as good as Rebel Romance or Mini Hawk? Not really, but I don't think the horse is that far off of them. And so you look at it and go, okay, Rebels Romance draws the rail. What if he kind of gets involved a little bit earlier than he should and kind of fades a little bit? What if Mini Hawk just isn't quite as good after that amazing run in the Arc? Amalok's right there. Amalok will win the race, I think, if those two things happen, right? And so you're getting 10-1. And so, again, most of the sequences I had to just go really short. But in a one or two of them, it's like I just think if you can get around these two horses, you're going to balloon this thing. Amalok's 10-1 on the morning line. I think we'll pay every bit of that. And the number 2 Goliath is the other one that makes sense to me as well. Coming off of a Group 1 win last time out. Another one, again, I look at the 2 and 3 here, Amalok and Goliath, and I don't think they're as good as our top 2. But if they're just a little bit off our top 2, they're right there. So I thought those were the 2 logical alternatives. Now, if you can't play them in your pick 4s and pick 5, you don't have the budget, you can look at it underneath. You can look at maybe a small win wager just to try to take a shot as well. So I just think the 2 and the 3 are the logical ones that could pull off the upset.
Yeah, I agree with you on the 2 and the 3, so I'm not going to go into them too much. I thought Goliath actually would have had a better shot last year in this race, but did not come over. Now, a year later, we're going to see Goliath in this spot. We'll see if he's able to kind of turn the tide on the other 2 at 8-1. I don't think that's a terrible play. Amalok, I think, is fascinating. 3-year-old second off the layoff that it took steps forward in every race so far this year. If we take one more step forward, we actually fit from a numbers perspective with horses like Rebels Romance, horses like Mini Hawk. I'm going to give you an underneath bomb, though. Because this is a race where if let's say you want to single either the 8 or the 1 on top of a superfecta and then play some horses underneath, you need to sprinkle in a big time price. How about the 14 horse here, Aaron? Ethical Diamond, 30-1 on the morning line. This is a horse that's shipping in from Europe. Last 2 times out was not in stakes races, and I think that's why this horse gets overlooked. But that last race was a $676,000 handicap race. That is not a low-level handicap race, but because it's a handicap, it is not a group-rated stakes race. That featured 22 horses. William Buick rode this horse. Before it was Ryan Moore. It's the 2 times this horse has gone shorter than 2 miles this year. Both of those resulted in wins. Both of those were in races with $150,000 or higher purses. Both of those resulted with time form ratings of 110 and 117. Mini Hawk's running like 124s, so not a huge gap between the 2. You're getting 30-1 on Ethical Diamond all the way to the outside. Don't love the post. Absolutely love the price and think this horse can run up into the Super.
I think this is another one that, if you think, Amalok and Goliath are just below Rebels Romance and Mini Hawk, the 2 races from Ethical Diamond are just below Amalok and Goliath, right? Mm-hmm. And so, again, you just look and go, okay, what if Ethical Diamond brings it big time, right? It's like, yeah, we could hit the board here for sure at 30-1. I don't hate it at all. We've talked about 5 horses so far, right? They're all from overseas. I think and I think that's where you go. I would rather take a longer price from the overseas horses than take one of ours at a longer price. Like if you wanted to play Wimbledon Hawkeye, kind of I would describe him as kind of a tough horse. He's not flashy, but he's kind of always there. Take a shot there at 20-1 before you take some of ours at a bigger price. That's just kind of where I'm at.
Well, I go through this. I don't even know which horse I would take of ours at a bigger price. Maybe redistricting.
Yeah.
Pratt Brown, second off the layoff, ran second to Rebels Romance last time. I don't think he has any shot at winning, but I think that would be the one that I would look at if I'm going crazy underneath. What do you do with El Cordobles? Appleby has 2 in here. This horse won 2 back in the Sword Dancer. I thought a lot of that was because of Pratt. Came out last time, ended up running third to Rebels Romance and redistricting in the Turf Classic over at Belmont at the Big A. 15-1 on the board for a European horse that now has 2 starts in the U.S. That was considered a cut below Rebels Romance, but not a monster cut below. And here we are getting 15-1. Is this one that you would consider underneath?
Yeah, look, we've covered him all 3. Well, this will be the 3rd time, but the other 2 times he's ran in the United States, and we liked him a little bit. Pratt was aboard at the first start there at Saratoga, got the job done, and a tremendous ride. But we talked about it. The last race up at Belmont at the Big A, Pratt jumped on redistricting, and we were like, I don't like El Cordobes quite as well. I think he's right there with the Ethical Diamonds, the Wimbledon Hawkeyes. I think he is there. I think if that's an alternative you want to go, got experience in the United States, I think that's good. 2 races under his belt. If you want to go there underneath, I don't mind it at all. I think he makes a lot of sense. Redistricting did finish ahead of him last time out, but look, it was close. So I don't hate him at all. I don't think he can win. I just don't see a world where he's going to win. I definitely see a world where we look up and it's like, oh, wow, he got third. That makes sense to me.
Before we move on, just because I want to hammer this point home, what percentage of the time does Mini Hawk or Rebels Romance win this race?
75%.
Yeah, I was like 75, 80. So this is one of those where if you want to go short up top, I think it makes sense going short up top. Number 8, Mini Hawk for Aaron. Number 1, Rebels Romance, but price dependent if you are betting win here for Mike. If the 1 and the 8 are similar prices, I would actually lean toward the 8. That's the Breeders' Cup Turf, the 8th race from Saturday. Let's move on to the 9th race from Saturday, the Breeders' Cup Classic, the granddaddy of them all, as Brent Musburger would say. This is the race everyone's looking forward to, but unfortunately we're not going to see the horse everyone's looking forward to as Sovereignty scratches out midweek, leaving a very wide open field of 9, really 8. Don't bet contrary thinking. I don't care what the price is. This horse is in here as a rabbit, and we're going to start out with that. If you're new to horse racing, every now and then you're going to see a horse entered that is a rabbit. So in this case, Sierra Leone and Contrary Thinking, same ownership group, same trainer. The idea is Sierra Leone needs pace, or else he cannot win the race. So let's enter a horse who is just surely going to go as fast as he can, as far as he can, and force pace into the race. That's what Contrary Thinking is doing. He is not trying to win. He is not trying to place. He is not trying to show. He is simply trying to go fast early. Do not use Contrary Thinking. Do not bet Contrary Thinking. All right, that's me off my soapbox. With that being said, of the other 8, Aaron, who do you like here?
Well, Contrary Thinking, obviously, is who I like.
Yeah,
right?
obviously, yeah. I'll bet he's ahead at the quarter pole.
Right, he will be. Yeah. Well, maybe. Sometimes he doesn't do his job.
Yeah, he does
That's
forget
another
what
story.
he's supposed to do every now and then.
Yes. All right, look, I think this race with Sovereignty out, it just to clarify, Sovereignty's been my pick in the race for 2 months, right? So with him out, I think you just kind of have to pick your poison a little bit. And that's the reason why he was on top for me, because I didn't see a lot of flaws with him. These other horses, I don't want to talk negatively about them all the time because they're very good. All these but Contrary Thinking are legit, really good horses with a shot to win this race. But they have their flaws, right? And I had to just kind of, okay, what flaw can I live with? I couldn't live with Fierceness as the favorite being as inconsistent as he's been. I'm going to put him on tickets. I don't really want to rely on him, though, because he's so inconsistent, and I don't think the price is there to kind of match that inconsistency. He certainly could win the race, though. I bet Forever Young last year. I'm not going to do it this year. His races here in the United States have been a little underwhelming to me. I know he ran fantastic in the Kentucky Derby, just come up short. He didn't run all that well last time in this race, I should say, the Breeders' Cup Classic. He was good, but he wasn't great. And I look at a lot of his races, and I think he's good. I don't know that he's like a world-class great horse. The Saudi Cup was the one that stands out. That one was unbelievable. The rest of them haven't been unbelievable. So I kind of worry about him. I'm talking in circles. I'm delaying it, but I'm going to go with number 7, Sierra Leone again. I just look at him and go, look, he runs the same race every time. And if the rabbit can do its job just a little bit and get that pace going, I don't think he needs a 44 pace like last year. I think if we can get a 45 or a low 46, I think he's in there with a big shot. I'm going to go number 7, Sierra Leone. I hope he stays. He's 7-2 now on the morning line. Hopefully he's around there. I don't want him if he gets bet down, but I think at the price, number 7, Sierra Leone makes the most sense.
Yeah, the betting in this race is going to be fascinating. Just to hammer home how good this field is, the last time every one of these horses crossed a finish line in North America, they all ran 100 buyers. Every single one of them. I cannot remember a time that we've seen outside of Contrary Thinking, who we're just not going to count if you haven't figured that out for this entire section here. I want to see how this gets bet. I really do, because I like Sierra Leone at 7-2 is almost too short for me in this field. Forever Long at 7-2 is definitely too short for me in this field. Fierceness at 5-2 I think is interesting, but I can't go back there because his best is probably the best. But I don't know if we're going to get his best. This was your favorite last year. We got what was a phenomenal effort, but just not good enough because of the pace that we saw. I don't think we see anything close to 42 or 44 again this year. We'll see if we get kind of that 45. I think it's going to be high 45, low 46-ish. Now, the difference between where Contrary Thinking is and where the second place horse is, I think also could matter because like Contrary Thinking may go 44, but if he's ahead by 5 lengths, that means the next horse is going 45, right? Because every length is a basically a fifth of a second for horses. So it's going to be interesting to watch the pace. I don't think it's going to be that crazy here. I am going to go for a price. And one of the main reasons is because I don't want to swallow a shorter price when I don't think there's as big of a gap between all 8 of these horses than the odds boards necessarily suggest. And that's going to lead me to the number 10 Antiquarian here, 10-1 on the morning line. This is a 4-year-old that has just gotten better as the years have gone along here. And last year ran in the Belmont and ran okay. We didn't see him after that, but won the Peter Pan prior to that to be able to step forward into it. Comes back in allowance, wins at Gulfstream, comes back in the Grade 3 Blame. We both picked him in that race. He loses to Mystic Dan, but he loses to Mystic Dan because he blew the turn. He would have won that race had he not blown the turn. Comes back in the Suburban, loses to Phileas Fogg, who absolutely had everything his own way, just coasting up front, had a paceless situation, but still made that very close at the end. And then comes back and wins the Jockey Club Gold Cup. And yes, there's a caveat there. The horse was, we did see Mindframe go down in that race. There was trouble in the the first time through the stretch for Sierra Leone, but still beat Sierra Leone. Felt like he had something left in the tank. Ran a 108 buyer that day. Why can't Antiquarian take a step forward? And if he does, his best is all of a sudden right there with Fierceness. Now, I'm not saying that that's going to happen, but it's definitely possible here for a 4-year-old who's now entering his late 4-year-old season, one of the times you see these horses mature the most. And I'm not swallowing 7-2. I'm not swallowing 5-2. I'm getting 10-1, and I think I'm getting every bit of that price, by the way, on race day. I don't think Antiquarian's taking a ton of money in this spot. So give me the number 10 Antiquarian on top here, taking a little bit of a shot in the Classic.
Yeah, and I can't really, argue much with all you said because it's accurate, right? It's
Thank
just,
you.
I think look, I've always said this about you. When you take a shot, it's not, hey, I'm just gonna let's just throw something against the wall and see if it sticks, right? Like it's not what it is. I mean, you made all logical cases. How could you really argue any of it? Just go look at the past performances yourself if you want to, and he's right there. I question if he is truly good enough to make that one last little leap and win the race. He did win last time out. His stablemate lost the jockey, and his other rival jumped over the jockey at the time around the
very
corner
athletic
the
move,
first
honestly,
time.
by Sierra Leone.
It helped him. Yeah, it definitely helped him. So, but look, we've been waiting on that horse to run that kind of race, and he did it. So, I can't argue with you at all. I hear you on not wanting to swallow a price. This was always my problem here. It just is tough, like you said. If you're going to back Fierceness in this race, you do have it in your back pocket. Okay, his best race wins.
Yep.
It's just a coin flip what he's going to do, right? And again, I get why people are betting Forever Young. I'll have Forever Young on a ticket. I'm not there with the complete hype on him either. I'll tell you the horse I almost picked, and is the horse that lost the jockey last time out, the number 8 Mindframe. If he would have finished that race, I think he would have been my pick. I just worry he has not ran and finished a race with a jockey aboard since June, and that bothers me, obviously, big time. But this horse has defeated Sierra Leone twice. He did that as a 3-year-old. He did get injured. He couldn't run in the race. he's undefeated in races where the jockey stayed on him this year. So I thought he made sense as well. What did you think of Mindframe?
I mean, again, another one where if you want to make the case, I think you definitely can, right? And that's that's the beauty of this is because you can knock Sierra Leone, and because you can knock Forever Young, because you can knock Fierceness, because you can knock Baeza, because you can knock Journalism, you can find ways to Antiquarian and Mindframe if you like those directions. Now, Mindframe needs to take a step forward, much like Antiquarian, and I have more questions about how he's coming into this race because of what happened last time, and because, as you mentioned, we haven't seen him finish a race in almost 9 months now. And so that to me is where the real concern is around Mindframe. But again, like if you want to make the case, hey, he would have gotten better in that race, and then logically he takes a step forward, and all of a sudden he's the best horse in this race. I can't dispute what you are saying. I think it's just my I'm a little more concerned about what happened for him, and that's why I didn't put him there. So underneath horse, am I crazy that I think Nevada Beach can hit the board? Number 3 horse, 20-1, Bob Baffert. Huge effort last time. I bet this horse to win last time in that Goodwood. Ends up beating Full Serrano, who just kind of couldn't get the 1 1/8. But Nevada Beach very much could, and I thought was going to be better at 1 1/4. The numbers aren't good enough to win unless you take a monster step forward. But this is a 3-year-old for Baffert that's now second off the layoff. It's by far the toughest field he's faced. But am I crazy to say that he can hit the board, hit the trifecta here at 20-1?
Well, I've got bad news. If he does, you probably won't show up to work for the rest of your life, because if the 10-3 exacta comes in, I don't think you'll have to do talking at the track or what is this called? VSiN Live, whatever it is. Yeah. Talking. I don't know. What is the name of this? I don't even know. But anyway.
Too many shows this week. They all run together.
We're at that point. If I called it Talking Track, which is a show I haven't done in like 6 months. But anyway, so yeah, listen, a VSiN At The Track. That's what it's called. So, yeah, look, I said this on an earlier show. I said, if this was a different running of the Breeders' Cup, meaning let's say 2023's running,
yeah,
I think Nevada Beach could win. Mm-hmm. I think he's very unlucky that he's coming on, but now he has to face this field. I think that's the problem with him. I cannot say you're crazy. I cannot say anybody's crazy if you want to play him to hit the board. To me, it's just we got to do too much too quick. And you're right. The last race was very good, but this is a totally different ball game. I don't know that he could do it.
Yeah, again, not on top for me, but I think I'll be using him in like my supers, right, in the 3rd and 4th spot, things like that, trying to inflate a price there to see if we can get a nice number home here, because he balloons this. He's clearly the longest shot on the board outside of Contrary Thinking, so if he's able to hit it, I think that makes a big difference there. Let's talk about the 3-year-olds outside of Nevada Beach, who's 3 as well, but the 3-year-olds that everybody really wants to focus on. Baeza and Journalism. Baeza coming off of a win in the Pennsylvania Derby where he, looked pretty good, beat Magnitude by 2 1/4 lengths, and before that ran second to Sovereignty to Jim Dandy. Probably the closest anyone's come to beat in Sovereignty, although Sovereignty didn't really try in that race. Journalism comes in here off a second-place finish in the Pacific Classic after winning the Haskell. What are you doing with these 2 3-year-olds? Are they going to make any of your tickets? And which one do you think beats the other?
I was hoping you were going to forget about that. Journalism, I think, beats Baeza.
Come on.
Listen.
Kid's got no
we just
spine.
interviewed Jeremy Plonk, and it was a great interview. You can tell, horse racing guy. You know when you talk to somebody, they're a horse racing guy. That truly is for sure. Yeah, listen, I thought he made a good point. This horse kind of got a little bit of a break, and I think that was needed, talking about Journalism. So, and for me, honestly, Mike, it's just getting a different jockey. I do think it's going to help. And I'm with you. Like, I don't think Rispoli really cost this horse at any point. I don't know that he really helped him at a lot of points as well. I just kind of feel like Journalism, you kind of got to go with him again. I will say, though, Baeza is a horse that seems to be getting better. I think like the Haskell version of Journalism, I think Baeza can beat that version, but I don't know that he can beat like the best version of Journalism. So yeah, look, I think Journalism, if you can go deep enough, is a horse to put on the tickets. I do. And here's the thing, about him, you know what he's going to do. He runs every time. He shows up. He brings it every time. It may not be good enough. It hasn't been good enough in spots, but the race he's going to run. So I do trust Journalism just a little bit more.
Yeah, 9 for 9 in the exacta going a mile or longer. That bodes well, considering we're going 1 1/4 here in the Breeders' Cup Classic. It would be Journalism over Baeza for me. I'm probably not going to have either on my trifecta or superfecta tickets now that I've kind of gotten in here. I'm going to lean toward the older horses here, and if I want a 3-year-old, I want the one that is 20-1 in Nevada Beach on those tickets versus a horse that is going to be sitting on the board. Like, I think journalism takes money. I think Baeza has a chance to float a little bit here, but I think journalism gets bet in this spot. And so for me, if I'm taking any 3-year-old, it is the new shooter 3-year-old, the 3 Nevada Beach on some tickets. Number 10, Antiquarian for me, 10-1 on the morning line in the Breeders' Cup Classic. Number 7, Sierra Leone, going for back-to-back winners here, 7-2 on the morning line in the Breeders' Cup Classic for Mr. Halterman. All right, now let's jump over to the Breeders' Cup Mile. We're going to go 1 mile on the turf course, race number 9 on this Breeders' Cup card. Fascinating race here. I think it's very different than the turf we talked about, which was a more closed-off race. I think this one is wide open. Your first bet morning line favorite is going to be Notable Speech, the 2-horse who failed to make a notable mark on this race last year, running third to More Than Looks and Johannes, who is back here again as the favorite that day in the Breeders' Cup Turf Mile. I didn't think had a bad trip. I didn't think had a ton of excuses. And I don't really see a large improvement from last year to this year. What do you make of the number 2 Notable Speech as a favorite, and where are you going on top?
Well, it's going to be a great race. I really think this is a 3-horse race, and I do think Notable Speech is here with a chance. I think the number 3, Shalon, is here with a chance, and I think the number 4, the Lion in Winter. Those are the 3 horses I really fell on. I'll kind of do what you did in the turf. It's really price dependent to me. I would imagine a win bet on Notable Speech is not something I'm going to do. I imagine he is going to get bet down pretty hard. So who's the better price between the Lion and Winner, the 4-horse, and the 3 Shalon? I think that's who I'll ultimately end up betting. And you hate to kind of be like that, but that's just kind of how I see it. I just look at these 3 horses, and I don't see a lot of separation between them. So I'm just going to try to get the best price between those 3. I'm going to use all 3 of them, and try to move on in the pick 4s and pick 5s. I really the 3 and the 4 really grew on me the longer I kind of watched the replays, and it's like, man, these horses are coming in to this race improving. I thought both of them looked very good on the replays. I will say this about Notable Speech. I don't think it should be lost on us that they did bring this horse over to Woodbine to prep in the United States this time, to get a race under his belt in the United States. Last time out, his first race in this country, it was the Breeders' Cup Mile for the year. I just feel like that may help him a little bit. I'm with you, though. You go back and you watch last year's running. There's really not an excuse. It looks like he's going to run huge, and he did run okay, but he just couldn't finish like we thought he would.
Yeah, he was fine in that race, but just not able to beat 2 American horses, which doesn't always bode very well as you expect these Europeans to come in and win. Number 3, Shalon for me. This is a 3-year-old who is phenomenally bred, won back-to-back races, a Group 3 and a Group 1, has improved on every one of the last 3 races, just taking a step forward in class and being able to win. Was back in the Group 1 Guineas, lost to Henry Matisse. Jonquil actually ran second in that race. I'm going to talk about him a little bit later. I had him selected before the workout text I got this morning. But number 3, Shalon at 6-1, I think is the horse that I want to back here. This is an improving 3-year-old who I think is going to get better. Another one that I have heard likes the firm turf. And if you go back to the only time this horse has touched the firm turf, one of the 2 times, ran huge in that race. The other time was the Guineas where he ran 9th, but didn't really get a clean trip in that spot either. So I'm going to go with the number 3, Shalon, 6-1 here. I respect the 2. I respect the 4. I think Johannes, the 7, is the U.S.'s best chance to win a turf race that is not a sprint. I think Johannes actually is live in this spot. If you go back and you watch, first off, Johannes loves Del Mar. We saw that last year, won the Eddie Reed here, ran second in the Breeders' Cup Mile. The last race doesn't get the best number. What shipped to the 4-star Dave got beat there, but that trip was awful. That was off a 7-month layoff, 9-month layoff on a track this horse has never faced. We're back home. But the City of Hope Mile wasn't facing the best horses. I get it. Had trouble in that race, and yet still ran very well, ran a 134 flat for the mile time. I am actually a little interested in the 7 Johannes as one of the few U.S. horses on turf that I think can win this weekend, go in 2 turns.
Well, it's kind of funny because, I was kind of debating on, okay, who do I want to put in 4th here? And I was between Johannes and Rhetorical, and I ended up choosing Rhetorical. I do really, really like that race last time out at Keeneland from Rhetorical. I thought he was excellent in that. And so I kind of like him in the spot. But, yeah, Johannes has got the home advantage over all of them, right? I mean, this is a horse that just runs so well out in Southern California. So I'm with you. And, look, I think it's very logical. The other big thing is just look at last year. The horse almost won it. The horse beat the favorite of this race last year. Yeah. Now, I think you could say last year, Johannes was probably in, I don't know, better form is the right word, but just more, proven form, more races kind of there. We haven't seen a lot from her since the Breeders' Cup, ran on in December and then was off until August and got just a horrific ride in the 4-star Dave.
Draw
a total line through that race up at Saratoga. And like I said, came back and ran very well, ran like we know this horse can at Santa Anita there in the City of Hope.
Yeah, I respect Johannes quite a bit. And the pattern, well, you're right. We had that long break. It was City of Hope into the Breeders' Cup Mile last year. That's the exact same track we're taking this year. And this is a tactical horse, can be forward, can close, was able to do a little bit of everything. Let's talk about the 10 Jonquil, one of the horses we talked about in the workouts. Ran fourth last time out in that turf mile at Keeneland. I do want to note that was not a great trip. This horse drew the 11 of 11 post that day, was 4 wide on the first turn, was 7 wide on the second turn at one point, rallied up to get fourth. I thought it was a better than it looks on paper performance from Jonquil. 10-1, not a bad price, and a horse that I think is live in this spot.
Here at VSiN At The Track, which is the name of this show, we talked about Jonquil back about a month ago for that Keeneland race. And, here's why I'm surprised for the hype for him, right? This horse was almost 12-1 at Keeneland that day and got fourth, right? And so that I can't get over that. And I get it. It was not a great trip. But this was not a horse that was very heavily thought of from the betting side of things going into that race. And again, I know bad trip will improve off of that race. I agree, but still, are we going to bet that horse at 10-1 after just losing at Keeneland at 11 or 12-1? That's where I kind of have trouble.
That's fair.
And that's just me on that. Again, I just don't know that this horse is as good as the 2, the 3, the 4, the 7, the 11. And then it's I don't know. So yeah, great reports. We'll see what happens. I'm still very skeptical.
Yeah, it needs to improve for sure. But I think has that opportunity, especially second time here in the U.S. We'll see what happens there with the number 10 Jonquil. I need an official pick from you.
All right, I'll go with you because, I kept going back. So I'm going to go number 3, Shalon. I'm with you. I think if you're going to make me pick, that's the one I kept going back to the most.
All right, number 3, Shalon for Aaron, 6-1 on the morning line. Number 3, Shalon for me, 6-1 on the morning line. Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile up next here. But before we get into it, make sure if you want selections from all 14 championships races and you don't want to be guessing, check out our full experts pick sheet for just $9.99 every race, both days, straight from the 3 top handicappers, myself, Dave Tully, and Mr. Ed. If you're a VSiN subscriber, you get those picks for free. Head over to VSiN.com/breeders. That's VSIN.com/breeders if you want to order that package. If you're looking to get everything we do at VSiN for $9.99 for your first month, head over to VSiN.com/subscribe. That's VSiN.com/subscribe. All right, Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile. One of the races I hate the most on these 2 days of cards, which is good because the last race we're going to talk about I absolutely love. So one of the races I hate the most because Nisos is an absolute wild card for me and is going to be your favorite. You're going to get a very short price, one of the shortest of all weekend on Nisos, who's the number 3 horse here, 8-5 on the morning line. This horse was pointing toward the Breeders' Cup Classic, ran in the San Diego, got the win, and then skipped the Pacific Classic and now shows up here, Aaron. What do you do with Nisos, who's had trouble staying on the track before? And I why aren't we in the Classic? What's going on with Nisos? What do you make of this one?
Well, we're not in the classes because he just can't stay healthy, and that's where it starts. This horse can just not stay healthy. It's just that simple. This horse would have been in the Classic. This was Bob Baffert's Classic horse, scratched out at the Pacific Classic because scratched the morning of the race, wasn't sound. And then they were going to run in the Goodwood to try to get him back into the Classic. Wasn't ready to run in the Goodwood. And so then Baffert enters Nevada Beach. That's why Nevada Beach is now in the Classic. Nisos could not stay healthy. So very frustrating horse as far as that goes. Here's what I'm going to tell you, and I am 100% confident in what I'm about to say. If he's healthy, he's winning. I think he is a superstar horse. I've thought he's a superstar horse ever since that debut race of his. He's done nothing to tell me otherwise. He's been fantastic when he makes the race. So here's what I'm going to say. If he runs, he wins. Would not be shocked if he scratches out of the race. I'm just going to say that right now. They interviewed Bob Baffert. He said, I wish he was in the Classic. He's an absolute superstar. He's doing fantastic. Still wouldn't be surprised if he scratches. But him saying that tells you everything you need to know. He's saying that because he believes this horse is good enough to win the Breeders' Cup Classic if everything was perfect health-wise, right? And if everything would have went well leading up to the race. But what that tells you is he loves him. If he runs that type of race that Bob Baffert is kind of saying he's going to run, they're running for second. I really believe that. But I'll tell you this. I'm going to give you a second pick because, again, I would not be shocked if he scratches. If he runs, Nisos is my pick. Very confident in him. If he doesn't, Mike, you're going to laugh. I'm going to Mystic Dan. I think this is
Oh, no.
Mike, I think this is a perfect race for Mystic Dan. I think he's made for this race.
Without Nisos, he fits. I'll put it that way.
Yeah.
The mile, I think, is a little bit of a question. We haven't seen him go this short since Churchill. But it was a one-turn mile there. This is a two-turn mile. I do think the two turns helps Mystic Dan in this spot. I have Nisos on top.
Yep.
I'm probably going to bet Nisos in BCBC if I'm still alive, and he is even money or better. Right, I think that's the other. He's not getting 8-5 on Nisos. Let me just tell you that right now. 8-5 is a pipe dream of a morning line price. If you have fixed odds, go bet Nisos, and fixed odds markets at 8-5 once you know that he is in the race. I just don't feel 100% comfortable with it because I just don't trust that we're going to get the A game. If we get the A game, he's a winner here. I kind of went back and forth on who to put underneath. I don't love this race underneath. I put Citizen Bull in second to 7. Won at this track last year in the Breeders' Cup. You're getting 10-1. This is the Baffert that's going to make the lead. Full Serrano to the inside is obviously the concern, who is going to be very forwardly placed. But we've seen Citizen Bull just say, I am dead going. And the fact that you've got the other Baffert, Nisos, and goal-oriented on the inside, who both can come from just off the pace, I think you're going to see Citizen Bull blitzed. And if we get the lead at 21-4, it's 21-4. If it's 22-3, it's 22-3. I don't care what the number is. We want the lead. I think that's what you got to expect from the number 7 Citizen Bull. I think he's got a shot at hanging on here. I like if Nisos isn't in the race. I think he's got a shot at hanging on. If he is in the race, I think you could have a Bob Baffert exacta.
Okay, so I am very concerned about Nisos as well. I'm with you. Here's kind of what I'm keep trying to tell myself, and you tell me if this makes sense to you. I feel like with him, I think if he enters and he's in the gate, I think he's going to run well. And I think it's going to be a good version of Nisos because with him, if there's something wrong, they're going to pull him out. His value is so high as a stud fee. I don't think they're putting him out on the track if he's got issues, right? So that's why for me, and again, he very well could not show up. He very well could, and I'm not. If you're thinking that as a handicapper, I can't argue with it. I just think from a logic standpoint, if they put him in the race and he actually runs, they're pretty confident he's going to run well. And so that's why I can kind of say, look, I'm worried, but I'm going to go ahead and play him. Where Seismic Beauty, the other horse coming off kind of a weird layoff, that's a little different. Her value isn't what Nisos is, and she is a little more questionable when it comes to that. Nisos, if he starts, I think he's going to run well.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. He's never not run well, right? Yeah. And that's the argument behind it. 5 wins and 6 starts, 1 second. So we're not going to get too much. Like, there's a couple other horses in. Well, I'll let you take away. If it's not Nisos, like, is it Full Serrano you're interested in? Is it Chancellor McPatrick? Is it Way to Bar? Is there anyone else underneath that you like a little bit at a price?
Like I said, I do like Mystic Dan. I know you're going to laugh. I just feel like it's a perfect race for him. He's getting class relief, and when he's run against a little bit lower class, now we're talking about Nisos out of the race now. When you go a little bit lower class, he's ran fine. I think he shows up with a good run. Full Serrano obviously should be respected. I mean, the horse ran very well in the comeback race going a mile. He got beat by Nevada Beach. You called it perfectly in the Goodwood. You said this horse can't go that far, and you were 100% right. But he's back to what he wants to do, so I like him as well. I've heard some rumblings about White Barrio kind of getting back to that form. I don't like him. I don't like his race at a mile either. He hasn't been good, but if like the best version of White Barrio can show up, he obviously has a big chance. And I've kind of heard some rumors, some rumblings that they think they've kind of got him back right. So maybe take a shot with him a little bit as well. But I don't hate your pick of Citizen Bull either. I thought his race last time out was very strong over this track. So we're kind of in agreements there as well. But it's all Nisos for me. And then if he's out, let's look at Full Serrano, Mystic Dan.
Yeah, I'm taking the number 3 Nisos as well, Citizen Bull, and I think Chancellor McPatrick is your price underneath. There's a lot of speed. There's going to be a lot of tired horses. Chancellor McPatrick's going to pass a couple of them. I think he can run up to 3rd or 4th at 15-1. So the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile, number 3 Nisos, 8-5 on the morning line for Aaron. Number 3 Nisos, 8-5 on the morning line for me. Let's close it out here, Aaron, our final race preview of the week. The Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Turf, 1 3/8 on the turf course here. My favorite horse, the one I am most excited to bet is in this race, but we'll let the suspense build a little longer. Who do you have on top?
Yeah, I feel like we should let you go first, but I'm not going to because you want to build that suspense. I think this is going to be a fantastic race. I really like the number 9 Cinderella's Dream. That's who I put on top, and I really like the number 14 See the Fire. That's who I put in second. So with Cinderella's Dream, a horse that's over here, has been over here, I should say, in the past. It had some success, shipped over here and won a race at Belmont at the Big A, won a race at Saratoga, came to the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Turf last year, got second, only beaten a half length. I thought ran very well. Still has pretty good form this year. Last race, maybe wasn't as good as what we've seen, but stretching back out now in distance, I think he'll be just fine. So I put number 9, Cinderella's Dream, on top. I'm not going to let the suspense build anymore, though, Mike. Tell me who you got.
Good pick. Cinderella Dream wins by open lengths. I think this is, if you look at her race last year, yep, she gets a great spot. And if you read the trip notes, I'll go to DRF here. Love DRF, by the way. Appreciate them jumping out. Trip notes, weave through surging. That does not even come close to talk about the trouble that she had in this race. If you go back and you watch it, she is in 3rd place, sitting a perfect trip on the inside. That's awesome. What's not awesome is when everyone else gets the jump on you because it's a slow pace and you're still stuck on the inside waiting for room. She was 8th at the top of the stretch after being in 3rd at the top of the turn. She gets pushed back, gets to run when the chute opens up, so maybe a quarter of a mile left, or sorry, 1/8 of a mile left there at Del Mar, and she just spurts through this hole on the inside and runs up to second, has no shot at Moira, who gets all the momentum on the outside. Now she's drawn outside in the 9 post. I think she gets a better trip this year. And you mentioned, well, she's a little, she wasn't great last race. She ran a 102 time form last race. Her high time form last year as a 3-year-old heading into this race was 95. That is a 7% improvement over her previous time form. And that was her bad race this year. If she runs back to the 116 we saw 2 times ago, 111, we're talking about a 20% better horse than what we saw last year. And that horse should have won last year. Give me the number 9, Cinderella's Dream. My favorite bet on the 2 days.
I'm so relieved that we have the same horse after all this talk, this whole podcast about how much you love this one. I'm so relieved we have the same one. Yeah, look, I love with the Appleby horses, and look, both strategies have worked very well, right? Aidan comes in and they never really run over here, and he has horses run well. Appleby tends to have preps, whether it be the last one or throughout the year somewhere, they come over here. And that was the thing, with this one, you go back and look, her United States races are fantastic. I thought the Belmont Oaks was a really good race. Saratoga Invitational, Saratoga Oaks Invitational, another really good race. You mentioned the Breeders' Cup as well. So, and like I said, has held the form pretty darn well. I know the last race maybe wasn't visually quite as good as what we were used to seeing, but still's won 2 out of 5. Has hit the board 4 out of 5 this year against tougher company overseas. So, like I said, I am thankful we're on the same horse. I do want to ask you about one because I feel like if there is one horse that for the United States that might win one of these route turf races, it might be the number 13. She Feels Pretty. She's pretty darn good. Mike, what did you think about her chances?
I have no interest in this horse.
Oh man, knife to the heart. Jeez.
Hey, look, I may be Cherie DeVoe's biggest fan. Well, one of them. Ooh. One of her biggest fans.
In what way?
Because I love betting her. I love betting this trainer. She was absolutely ignored at the windows for the first year and a half. Now she's getting some love from some other people as well, and thus getting some bets. Nice try, buddy. I know where you're trying to go with that. But yeah, she has been awesome, and I'd love to see her win a Breeders' Cup race. I'd love to see She Feels Pretty win this race. But I don't like the post at all. This is a horse that wants to be forward, third, fourth, somewhere in there. You're in the 13 post. This first turn is going to come pretty quick for you. There's other horses that are on the speed, that want to be on the lead, that are going to be forward in this race. All of a sudden, you're 3 wide, trying to find a spot in the second turn, probably 4 or 5 wide on the third turn. Just not the trip I want from a horse that's the lukewarm favorite in a race where I just don't see any way, shape, or form that she should be. I guess she's 4-1. There is a 7-2 shot. She shouldn't be one of the favorites in my mind. If She Feels Pretty was 10-1, we're having a different conversation. But she's never going to be 10-1. No. So the conversation for me is pretty simple. I'm leaving her out. And look, she's never missed the top 3. Never missed win, place, or show. This is the toughest field that she's ever faced. And I think that you're going to see that. And the price just doesn't reflect what I think I would need to be able to better here. I like See the Fire, the 14 that you mentioned. I think we got to talk about the 6, Diamond Rain, who lost to She Feels Pretty last time, but had a much worse trip in the EP Taylor there. I know you didn't love the ride on She Feels Pretty that day, but I think Diamond Rain absolutely live to improve second off here. Second time in the U.S., I should say. Or second time in North America. In this spot, 6-1, I like the price as well. I think Diamond Rain is live. Gazora is the one I don't know what to do with. Ran in the Arc last time, facing the boys. We talked about how tough that race is. Prior to that, back-to-back great Group 1s, including a win in a second there. What did you make of the 5? Gazora, who is your 7-2 favorite?
Yeah, with Gazora, I'm with you. I think you just draw a line through the last race. It just wasn't her day for whatever reason, and just forget about it. All of her other races look fine, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, second in a Group 1-2 races back, a Group 1 winner 3 races back off. That was kind of back earlier in the summer, but still, it was a good win. Group 2 win 4 races back. So I think it's there. I think you just throw it out. Look, the Arc's a really tough race. Yep. I mean, that's not an easy race to finish 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th, which is why we like Minnie Hawk like we do, because she almost won it. So just draw a line through that one. I think this is one you gotta. The problem is the horses I like, at least the 5, the 9, the 6, the 13, and 14. They're all 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on the betting lines, right? So you can't play them all. You really should only play a couple of them in your pick 5s. And so that's why Gazora, I would probably rather see the Fire on a ticket if I'm going too deep, the 9-14, and kind of leave the 5 out. That's how I kind of look at it.
Yeah, I'm going to be 9-5, maybe 9-6. Okay. But to me, Cinderella's Dream also is going to be singled and press tickets for me. If I'm alive in BCBC and Cinderella's Dream, look at the top of the leaderboard, because it might be me. We'll just put it that way. That's how I feel about this 9 in the final. So Breeders' Cup, Filly and Mare Turf, number 9, Cinderella's Dream for me. Number 9, Aaron takes the Cinderella's Dream as well. 9-2 on the morning line there. Hopefully we get that price. I think we will, because this is a very contentious field. That's going to do it for our Breeders' Cup coverage. If you haven't figured it out yet, you should sign up with First Bet. They're offering a VIP exclusive trip to Las Vegas. You got 2-night stay at Circa, $250 food and beverage credit. You just got to go over to first.com/VSiN, #1st.com/VSiN. Use promo code VSiNBC to sign up and bet $200 on the Breeders' Cup, and you are entered to win that exclusive Vegas trip. Make sure you check out their Survivor page as well. $10,000 up for grabs for free. Entries are due tonight, 30 minutes before the Thursday night football game. So make sure you head to first.com/VSiN. That's #1st.com/VSiN. You have to survive 8 Breeders' Cup races, having a show placing finisher, so win, place, or show, as well as pick 2 games against the spread. If you survive all of it, you split a $10,000 prize pool there. Not bad there over VSiN and First Bet. Make sure you check that out. Again, that address is the first.com/VSiN, the #1st.com/VSiN if you want to get involved in the Breeders' Cup Survivor. Aaron, we have survived the Breeders' Cup week. Make sure you check out all the content. Apple, Spotify, where you can find VSiN At The Track podcast. We have got a show that aired Tuesday with all of Friday's picks. Obviously, here's the Saturday show. We got interviews with David Aragoni, the morning line maker of the Breeders' Cup, as well as Chris the Bear Felica, on who they like in the Breeders' Cup and what it's like to make the morning line odds. We've also got our long shot show up as well with our favorite prices across the 2 days. Final thoughts, Aaron. What is the race you're most excited about as a fan? What is the race that you're most excited to bet? And if I asked the same question to everybody, what race should people go back on YouTube and watch from a Breeders' Cup perspective?
Zenyatta, when she won the Breeders' Cup Classic in 2009, I was surprised nobody said it. A lot of historians, I feel like, in racing here, when you ask that question, going back to the 80s and the 90s, Zenyatta, 2009. You look at the crowd that day at Santa Anita. Oh my goodness, you don't see that in horse racing very often, where people are rooting for the same horse, right? And that's what you saw. So Breeders' Cup Classic 2009, Zenyatta beating the boys. The race call by Trevor Denman. I could recite it word for word, but I won't do it because you need to go watch it. All right, the question of race I'm most looking forward to, I think the Breeders' Cup Turf now, Mini Hawk versus Rebels Romance. I really am excited for that matchup. How about race 12 on Saturday? After all you've talked about, you've kind of convinced me. Let's just push it all in. Breeders' Cup betting challenge on Cinderella's Dream. Let's win. You're going to give me half if you do, because that's the rules of the podcast, right?
Yeah, I'll give you half of a bottle of tequila if we can drink it together as a celebration after you backed out my bet. Look, the Turf is the one as a fan I am most excited for. Ironically, the last race is the one I'm most excited to bet. So we have the same answer there. Zenyatta would have been my answer, but I will go back. I'll say go watch a Razi's Breeders' Cup Juvenile performance. One of the best performances from a closer we've ever seen in the Breeders' Cup. Absolutely weaves through traffic. Unfortunately, not a huge career for Arazi, but that was just one of the more phenomenal Breeders' Cup races, and the move that Arazi makes is awesome. My favorite one is Concern winning in 1994. For all those people who don't know, I love Concern. That was the first year that I was at the Breeders' Cup, and 11-year-old Mike had a win bet on Concern that day. So Concern always got a special place right here in my heart. For Aaron Halterman, I am Mike Somich. For our super producer, Matt Deutsch, who's put up with us all week. Appreciate everything he has done behind the scenes to set up the interviews and all the texts that he's sent to make sure that we are ready to go and put on a good show. We really appreciate his hard work as well. Again, check out everything we've done. VSiN At The Track, Apple, Spotify. Make sure you're subscribed over there. And check out the YouTube feed at VSiN Live as well. You can catch the videos up if you want to see what we look like. Hit the thumbs up button if you watch this. Help us get it out to more people. And stick around with VSiN At The Track. We don't just do this Breeders' Cup week. We'll be back next week talking about what happened and previewing and prepping that weekend's biggest stakes action. For Aaron Halterman, I am Mike Somich. Good luck at the track.
This is VSiN At The Track.